Okay, it says this hangout is on. Hi guys. Peter, can you hear me? Okay. Peter? Should I discontinue Skype? Peter? Hi everybody. Please click in the chat box if you can hear me. We're still trying to set everything up here. Again, apologies. We're having some technical difficulties on our end. If everyone can hear me, just please confirm that in the chat box. I see Don, Dex, Lauren, George. If you can hear me, just say yes, I can hear you. Okay, good. Trent, Lauren. Okay, great. Loud and clear. Okay, George. Okay, I don't know if we lost Peter there. Hi, Nish. Hi, Sergey. Sorry again. I don't know. This is, very reliable technology. In the last 2 days, it's been an issue. So apologize again. We'll wait just a moment. I don't know what happened to Peter. I'll go ahead and start without him if you guys can all hear me. So just give it a moment or two, just so I can allow everyone to come in. Looks like we've got everyone here who's registered. So I'll just go ahead and kick it off because we're a little bit into the hour already. So we've had a lot of stuff going on today. There's quite a bit to talk about. And I think you're going to enjoy this session. I'm going to work backwards. I'm going to work from the signal that I sent out last night, see what's going on there. We talked about this yesterday, gold, and why I liked it. And then I kind of backed off yesterday just because of the uncertainty of the environment. Right before we hung up, the New Zealand dollar plummeted. So all the trades we were looking at just changed immediately right after I hung up with you. So, because of that uncertainty, it kind of threw a curve at me and I thought I'd back off and take a look. But the more I looked at this chart, the more I still wanted to be a part of it. And again, we talked about this double bottom, the short-term double bottom here, and why it kind of reinforced that I like it so much is that not only has it formed this kind of, double bottom, but also this, cup and saucer formation with the neckline coming in right here. So we have a couple of technical formations going on here. In addition to which, this divergence continues. We're making new lows in oil today, new lows in copper, new lows in platinum, and gold is going the other way. So, I'm not second guessing it. It is what it is, and you're seeing this huge bullish divergence. I think what stumped me yesterday, why I didn't really want to go through this thing, was the way it closed. And typically, when something's about to shoot out of an area, I really like to see it do one of these, where it makes a new low and then closes in the opposite direction, even if it's a little one. Just something like this. And because we had all these series of bars closing in the middle or the lows or whatever, it kind of reduced my confidence in that. But I just was taking a look at the overall formation, this double bottom, this cup and saucer kind of situation, cup and T handle, if you will. And I just decided I want to be a part of it. And one of the things that I talk about is this positive pace or negative pace. And I was trying to draw in my mind, okay, can it just take off from something like this, where the bar closes in the middle? And that was kind of the difficulty I had. In a way, I couldn't really picture that, kind of going up like that. But at the same time, I certainly couldn't, see it going down like this, because even if this market, as I said, was going to go down, it has all this resistance now to the left, all this price action that it's got to clear through in order to make a path to go downwards. And, I'm going to talk about this spacing and, how markets need space in order to go up or down. And you can see that, there's certainly a lot of white space here, and that the distance between the resistance here on the left and where we could be on the right is now very wide. Whereas if you're trying to go down here, the spacing between here and here is very small, and you have all this clutter, etc. And I don't know if that's clear to you guys. I'm going to be talking about this spacing concept. To me, the markets need room to make major moves, just like the analogy I always use is like a super tanker out in the ocean, like one of these oil super tankers, that if you were to make a U-turn in the middle of the Gulf with a super tanker, you'd need 18 miles of ocean to actually fully turn those boats around. And the markets are kind of the same thing. In order to turn this bear market around, you kind of need this spacing in order to do it. And that's kind of what's happening now. And I'll contrast this with some of the other markets that I'm talking about. But let's just, stay where. So we put in a buy stop at the 1096 area above these. And then what I liked about it is that I had, 2 inside trading days. So again, trying to stick to my methodology of these insurance bars, we had these 2 inside day bars. I put the buy stop just above the second one here, and now we're in this trade. And we're well off the highs. It went to about the 1110, and now we're about 1102. And it's not looking dodgy to me at all. To me, it probably has to kind of consolidate this a little bit. Might have to go, down, and actually we may just even see the entry price that we saw yesterday. But I wouldn't be surprised to see it go down somewhere in here, and then maybe, can close or whatever as it consolidates this, to position it for a move like this. So if you have a position on and you're getting a little antsy and you want to reduce your position, you might want to do that, because I still think that the market could still come off a little bit from here. But I'm going to put my stop much lower so that I don't get diced out prematurely. I still want to see how this thing behaves. And to me, it's exhibiting some very interesting forces on the upside. So I think you could still see some noise, as it plays in this congestion area, this resistance area, as this plays out. But, I do expect to see this eventually, either go down and then up, or just, sideways, whatever. But I'm looking to stay in this thing, and I'll probably, stick my stop loss, pretty low around the 1190 area or so. So that's why people say, well, why don't you just put it at break even? Right here. Well, that's pretty arbitrary. Again, the market's not trying to accommodate us. Where our position is, we have to adhere to what the market will do. And even if it comes down to the 1196 area, I know it gives up some intraday profits we had, but my idea is that I want to stay in this thing long term and see it up here, or however it wants to go. So I'm willing to put up with some short-term noise just to see how we So JD Charisma said, this is oh, I'm sorry, this is XAU USD. I'm sorry. So this is the gold trade we were talking about yesterday. This is a daily chart. This is the signal that you got last night. So sorry about that. I didn't realize you guys couldn't see it. And thanks for that, JD. So we got into gold because of this formation, because of these inside day bars, and I still like it here. You obviously have some overhead resistance right here that the market is working against, but I want to see it do some more work and see what it does here. And if I have to put it, give up some gains, and this thing might just turn around, become a double, top up here and turn the other way. But I'm kind of willing to stay in here right now. So I'm going to give it a little room to breathe and see how we do in XAU USD. So there's a lot going on here in the market. And let me just, get to some other things. One of the things that I talked about a couple days ago, and let me get back to the New Zealand dollar. There's just so much noise going on in all these pairs now that you can see. This is what I've been talking about. My trepidation that you have so much noise and these markets bouncing all over the place that you really need to be confident where to get your positions in here. So as I indicated, I was very fearful of putting a sell stop under this low, even though we saw this reversal the other day, because of the presence of this one bar right here. And yesterday kind of sliced through all that. And when we were talking yesterday, the market was all the way down here, and I was kind of bummed out. I thought I analyzed this thing, and I probably should have been short this thing. And as we hung up, the New Zealand dollar crashed, and pound New Zealand went the other way. And so this was a short-term obstacle that the market did have trouble going through, and I was kind of, right to sit on my hands to stay away. But now we have a situation where now we have these two reversals. Now we even have a much more solid situation where the market is a downtrend, and we have two reversals, and now we built further away from that obstacle bar. So again, this concept of building away from certain things, I'm going to talk about it in other things as we look at some other markets. But now we've put some distance between this bar and this bar, and now we have this double key reversal. Again, we're 2 hours before the close, and or about an hour and a half. So again, you can see why I wait to the last minute to see how something's going to close. And as we hung up about 10 minutes before the close yesterday, this whole complexion changed. Everything we were looking at when the pound New Zealand was here, when we basically hung up yesterday, 2 seconds later, it was there and changed the whole complexion of this trade. And that's the reason why I wanted to sit that one out. Again, you can look at these key reversals and try and optimize it because it's going to blast through here, and try and position a take profit. But if you miss your take profit, it's going to come right back in your face. And there was a series of trades today that we talked about that looked good yesterday: Euro Canadian, Euro Pound, that I could have really justified getting long. They did shoot up, but then they came right back down, and we'll take a look at that in a minute. So this is something that I would want to put on our short list tonight as an optimum trade, because again, what really I'm keying on is the lack of quality of these bars that is holding up this pair right now. And I can't see any sustained uptrend out of something like this where we don't have any key reversals down here. We have a little double bottom. The prices did jump off that, came back to this thing, and now we have these huge key reversals in a well-established downtrend. And now you put some space between this obstacle bar. You did some work here, and now I'd be very inclined to put a tester under here, and I definitely foresee that we're going to probe the white space in this down channel here. So this is the pound versus, and again, I apologize, I'm not putting the screen in the right place, so you're not seeing the pair. Here's the pound versus New Zealand dollar. This is the daily chart. I'm going to put this on our short list today of very high probability trades. So we're long. Short pound versus. So we're just going to put that here. I'm actually going to put this also in the category of the high probability trades. This is something that I really want to look at today. So we're long, XAU USD right now. We're kind of in this position, and you're looking to hold it. Let's just get out of these, and today's for the 20th. We're going to put this on the short list today, the pound versus New Zealand dollar short. I really like that. Next, let me go through some of these euro trades that we were looking at yesterday. And again, I had a real dilemma because, we were looking at an uptrend. We had this key reversal in the direction of the trend, but I kind of said, look, I think my thinking was we're long in the tooth. If you're not there for the wedding, you don't want to be there for the funeral. And that's exactly what happened. So, we missed this piece, which is substantial, probably could have pulled 100, 150 pips out. But let's say I put my take profit up here and it doesn't reach it. Now all of a sudden it's in my face. And so, as I said to you yesterday, my whole premise of what I'm looking to do is try and justify positions that I can sit in for, days and perhaps weeks. And I can justify doing that. Did I see this thing darting out of here? Absolutely. But I didn't know where it would stop, and I didn't know where it would turn. And now we've got this huge, giant reversal that's basically put an end, in my mind, to this whole uptrend. When you see something of this size, and when you see it close this close to the low, I mean, we're still not closed, but it's a significant reversal here. And so in my mind, this market, has been damaged substantially. So now ideally, market doesn't go straight up and then, straight down against it, although this may come off really quickly. And I'm a little bit hesitant to put in a signal now short, even though I wouldn't mind, because I could see this thing making a low under here and then sneaking back in here. When you've got a bar of this size, typically you want to see some price action in here, some more work in here before it falls away. So I'm not going to say that I'm going to sell this, but certainly on the long side, this for me is over. So if I was long, if you had any positions, this bar would tell me to start getting out of this position in a hurry. And again, ideally you want to see the market build away to then fall. So you've got this huge wall, if you will, that's straight up, and you want to put some distance between this wall in order for it to now turn around, similarly that we spoke about in gold, where you kind of want to put some distance where it can, turn. But again, this something like this could turn very quickly when you have a gigantic reversal like this. And I think this is what's happening in the markets. You're just seeing the markets just, turn from one thing to the other. And, I could kind of see this thing coming down very quickly, making this and then making this, and now you've got this head and shoulders, and I can see some different formations being created, and which means that you could fall out of here very, very quickly. So I'm gonna put this on a trade to watch, the EuroCAD. I'm gonna revisit this. I want to see how this closes. So I'm gonna look at short EuroCAD, or certainly put it on my watch list over the next couple days, because when you see something turn around like this, it is very meaningful. The bigger the range, and how it closes relative to the low, to me, this really piques my interest. When you do something like this and you shoot out of here and you have a reversal, it means something. And you can't ignore that. So again, this is a bull market, but this is put a huge dent in it. I don't know if it's a short today, because again, you have to picture in your mind this thing going straight down here, and the markets don't quite work that way. And what could happen is you could have a huge move this way, only for it to shoot up, close in here, and then do some work here and do some other stuff. So likely to be a lot of volatility before we get a clearer picture, and ideally want to get the market to work itself a little bit better. There's another euro cross trade that I think is a little bit better that we might be able to get on it. And so again, we were looking at this yesterday just to reinforce what I was saying. Here was the key reversal bar, and I was a little bit conflicted, because here was a reversal bar in an uptrend, and I definitely saw that there was a potential for this move. But then I also had a feeling that, we're very long in the tooth and this could come flying back in our face. And I think we explained that yesterday. And this is exactly how the market played out. So for you, who are in the inside on some of these things, when we see certain things, you may want to take it and, maybe put, some shorter objectives on here. But again, this could have gone just like, 20 or 30 pips above here and turned. As it happened, it probably went 200 pips. So you could have easily taken 50, 60, 80 pips out of this thing before it turned. But I'm not trying to turn you guys into day traders. We're not going to be on everything, but I do see a lot of moves in the market in my mind. I can see how these things play out, and we actually talked about this whole scenario yesterday, and it's playing out exactly how I envisaged it, ironically. So another pair that I was talking about on the same level. Does everyone get this, by the way? Did everyone get that explanation? Was that okay? If you could just put some stuff in the chat box just to know that you're hearing me and everything is okay. Peter, please let me know if you're still on the line. Just let me know that I'm not talking into a vacuum here, if you would. Okay, cool. George says yes. Liz says yes. Anish, yes. Lauren, okay, cool. Next pair that looks like this is the euro versus the British pound. And the same thing, we talked about this thing where we had this inside day bar, and I said, I was just so hesitant with these things when you've got this, obstruction to the left. As it turned out, it got through that obstruction, but that obstruction has now turned out to be just that, an obstruction. And, while we could have made a little bit more here, you just never know how these things are going to play out. And as it turns out, it looks like this thing now is going to turn the other way. You made it, and I love to see these things at the top or the bottom of what I call a channel. And when I talk about a channel, I mean something where you've had a profound movement in one way or another for a good length of time. So I mean, you've had this channel, this is a channel, this is a channel. So when you see something at the bottom or the top of channels, that's when you really want to take notice. Even this, you had this inside day bar at the top of a channel, and it pushed you into this whole move down there. Here, you had a reversal at the bottom of this channel, and it pushed you into this whole move here. So you can start to visualize these things. Again, my whole premise is that the market points to where it wants to go. And this is pointing. This is pointing down and saying, this is where we're headed. So, you don't have to outguess it. You don't have to stare in front of your machine trying to look for an indicator to tell you. The market will tell you in its own time. This thing's pointing, hey, I want to go up, right here. So we're just trying to, find the clues, in the sand, if you will. And, if you just, stand back, it becomes pretty clear. Let me share with you, and I think I started talking about this, and I was anticipating that we would reverse today on the pound yen, euro pound, because I'm seeing, actually it was on the weekly. And, I might have a whole new coin here in the nomenclature, Peter, just as a result of these sessions, what I call obstruction bars. So I think I'm going to actually introduce that in, going forward. Sometimes I just, know what I'm looking for in my head, but when I need to explain it like I am to you guys, it becomes, even clearer. So it's been, a good experience for me too, and I hope you guys are getting a lot out of this. So, this is the euro versus the British pound. This is the weekly chart. We were just looking at the daily, and it definitely looked like a reversal on the daily. But I was already inclined to believe that we were going to get in the resistance area here because of, what's going on, right here. If you notice here, not only, is this an area where we're kind of coming up to, but if you notice again what I call the quality of the bars, where every time, you kind of got into this area, you had these giant key reversals. So now we're back in, at this area, and I think these guys told you how much resistance there was at this level. So that likelihood, once we kind of shoot up here, was that, we're going to have some trouble. And today's the first sign of that. So now the question is, do we go short at the first sign of a turn, in a market. And I'm known to be pretty aggressive. I'm a bit of a gunslinger in my own account. What I do for you guys is a little bit different. And ideally, what I'm been talking about is that when you have a wall that goes straight up, you kind of want to put some distance and build away. But you could have a situation where this kind of falls out of bed very, very quickly. And so I'm a little bit conflicted about the risk versus, and then you've got the bar that's very large range. So your risk and your stop has got to be a little bit, more. And so I think the risk versus reward right now is probably not quite there yet, but I am looking to, take the reverse side of this. So, people say, you're a trend trader or, you're a swing trader. I don't like to define myself as any. I will go against a trend. Here's a huge uptrend, but I think we're seeing the end of it. So at some point, I'd like to see this play out, put an inside day bar here, do some more stuff, and then, take a counter trend trade. And the question is, do we take one now or take a shot? And we can kind of come back to that. To me, I think the Euro CAD, now that I look at it, looks a little bit better. If I was going to, the reversal's bigger, and it looks, it's like it's built out a little bit more, where you've got this kind of build out here away from this up thing. So if I was going to do one over the other, I think I'd prefer Euro versus CAD. But again, the bar today is so high, so much. So you've got almost 350 pips from high to low. Which then says, okay, how do I assess my risk? If I put my stop, 180 pips higher, is that something that we want to, tackle? And it's probably not. So I have to look at the risk reward on that. But I love seeing this, and this, starting to tell me this market is over for the Euro CAD, Euro pound. So let's keep drilling down to trades that we think might be higher probability. Again, we talked about Australian, New Zealand. I'm sorry, this is the Australian dollar, Canadian dollar. This is still playing in this thing. This is an uptrend. We have another inside day bar in a series of other inside day bars. Because of the volatility, because of the way things have been snapping back, I could make a case for this thing going higher, but then you'd come against this resistance, and then it may just snap back in our face here. So I'm going to put a question mark on that for now. Although this is higher, we have an inside day bar, and I can still see this going higher for the moment. I want to sneak that on our short list right now. And we'll revisit that in a minute, because I think if the Canadian dollar is going to start getting stronger, the question is whether Australian dollar. So I'm going to leave that alone for now. Let's just keep drilling down. So Australian Swiss, we have a huge key reversal there. I like these Swiss trades, and this is interesting. It is interesting, but I think you've got so much noise here. I mean, you could just have another spike, but I just don't like to see this. You have such a huge angle of this wall that I could make a case that this thing's going to really spike for up here. But I think I like the dollar Swiss better for a lot of reasons, and I'll get into that. I think the risk reward is going to be better for us. Odd yen. Again, I've been looking to short this thing, got very unhappy that, I missed the trade to the downside. And now you can just see the volatility, guys. I mean, so it's, you have to have maximum confidence in these markets, because they're spiking and making, 400 pip high to low all over the place. And that's why I'm a little bit, anxious about some of these markets, and I don't want to play in them unless I'm pretty certain. So now you've got some countervailing forces where you've got a short-term support here, you've got short-term resistance here, and there's probably going to be a tug of war between these guys, in this. And I think I'll stay out of that tug of war for now. Australia, New Zealand came off. It's kind of coming back, but it's had a reversal on the monthly. I do expect the Australian to be weaker versus the New Zealand, but you've got all this price action here, all this noise to cut through. And, unless I can really see something in this pair, I'd, by and large, stay out of it anyways. Where are we? Australian. Now we've had a huge key reversal on the Australian dollar. We've got this double bottom here. We kind of surpassed the double bottom, and now we've got this interesting support right here, this key reversal. And again, I've got to sit up and take notice. These key reversals, they point. Again, if this isn't going to go straight up against this wall. So ideally, you're going to, want to see some build out. And again, I use this concept that you want to build away from this primary downtrend, that if you're going to, spot a reversal, the more it builds out and builds energy to coil the other way, like it has in gold. Gold fell away, but then it's had all this price action, here. So it fell away here, but look at all this price action it's had to this, to this side, to then start building away, to then turn, turn that U-boat around. So sometimes you get these markets charging from one level to the other, but by and large, you want them to build away in order to, give you a good thing. So I think, Australian dollar, I could see it, just jumping up here, and like Canadian dollar yen the other day, jumps up and then jumps back down into the range and plays around. So we'll have to see if this kind of support area right in here holds, but this is intriguing for now. But I'm gonna stay out of this for the moment. Australian CAD yen, again, gigantic reversals. We talked about, these markets coming off, and this was your first clue that there was some support here. Market, went much lower, but this guy already started telling you that there was some support in this area. And now with these two prongs right here, it looks like these yen trades might have turned for now. I mean, you can see how prolific the downtrend is, and now we may get, again, some movement here, but this has been a straight wall down. I don't expect it to be, a very clean thing up. I mean, you can have you're seeing such big moves, but you just never know where they're going to go. It could go up big here, reverse in your face, whatever. But this size reversal certainly has put a stake in the ground in terms of downward progress for the moment. So if I was short, I certainly would get out of that for now, but I'm not gonna get long right now. Maybe there's another yen trade that looks a little bit better if we wanted to get long. And actually, the one that we liked the other day still looks pretty bad. The Swiss franc is weaker than the yen at the moment, which then also tells us something about the Swiss franc, that it's not all that strong relative to other currencies, and that could come into play in my here's copper. So copper's down here, gold's already up there. Copper's hovering at old lows. This is euro versus Australian dollar again. I was very afraid of all this noise to the left here, that I didn't think it would be a clean carving through here even when we got to this thing, and now our fears have been justified. And if I'm looking at all the euro trades now, you can see that this one has built out already relative to euro CAD or euro pound. And so relative to the other ones, I would kind of be inclined to take a shot in the euro odd short here. You kind of have this double top. So again, you've kind of built away a little bit here, and even here, you've kind of built away from this primary up thing, whereas, Euro CAD and Euro Pound are still more vertical. This is kind of a little bit, less vertical than Euro CAD, Euro Pound. And so a lot of it just is, visualization, and then saying, okay, can I see this thing falling away from this primary uptrend? Does it have enough room to just fall? And again, my thought is, if I'm going to, sneak in a thing here, I want to see it just fall and continuing. I don't want to see it snap back and then come back in my face and that kind of thing. So I have to, make a case to myself. And so there's several things that I like about this versus the other euro pairs. You started to see this resistance here, and we snuck in a short trade here. And while we were wrong, for the moment, these were starting to indicate that you had substantial resistance, at close levels. And just because we got a little bit above there, this thing is now telling me that, this resistance is now becoming much, much more real. And so again, it's a question of risk versus reward. How can we see this thing moving? And may want to see another consolidation bar or whatnot, because again, with such a big range, it's like, where do you put your stop? If we get short here, and the market makes a move and then starts cutting back up here, where do you put your stop? And this is a 400 pip range. So that's the difficulty I have right now. So even if it goes up there, it could still do a lot of volatility, and then by the end of the day, go in the direction that we want. But it's a question of how much, noise and heat are we willing to take in order for this trade to work in our favor? And let's just put this high up on the trades to continue. I misspelled this one. So let's put this higher up, short euro odd. And I would rank this higher than euro CAD or euro pound, just because I think it's done more work sideways and has shown more resistance. You've got a lot more resistance bars here, these reversals that are then pointing. And the bigger the bar, the more meaningful the signal. So when it's pointing, on a big thing, it's saying that this thing is, there's some problems here. And it's just that these things are so difficult to interpret now, because these markets are just cutting from one level to the other, on these large things that it's just hard to make sense. So we have to drill it down to these things, but you just don't know how long it's going to extend, and then what it's going to do. So let's just keep it on the short list. In my water, I really feel like these euro pairs certainly are in trouble now. So let's keep the discussion going, and we can revisit. We looked at EuroCAD. Again, it's more vertical than Euro odd. So I favored that. Euro Swiss is pretty noisy. We've looked at that. It's again, it's just noise, it's chop. I don't look at that. Euro pound, again, it's much more vertical than Euro odd. So needs more work there. Euro yen. Again, these yen pairs look very bearish, and this is no exception. But there's no real trade for me here. Again, these trades, they made a new high and then fell the other way, and that's not really a good signal for me. And so when these things just kind of happen out of nowhere, even though I'm expecting yen trades to go stronger, it's hard for me to get hold of it. And I get a little frustrated that I miss these things. But just the thing is to stick to your discipline. Euro New Zealand. Here we go. This is a trade that I liked earlier. And again, you've got so many countervailing formations and patterns that are going on that are, thrusting out of the patterns, and then, putting on opposing patterns just as quickly. And now you're wondering, what you're really seeing here. And the only thing is, you can just have to go by the price action. So this is Euro New Zealand. We've been looking at this as a daily. So initially, some months ago, I made some money identifying this descending wedge triangle. The market broke out of that, and then just as quickly as it formed one pattern, so it formed this double bottom. And we were also fortunate to make 300 pips in a trade last week just by identifying this pattern. So you have to be somewhat opportunistic. So these patterns are showing up in many ways. And we got in on this trade right here, this reversal day, made 300 pips, took our profit, and I was a little frustrated. I just wanted to see this play out again. I talked about this area here where, to the left, that even though I saw this, this bar, this huge thrusting bar, I thought that, we'd have this obstacle by virtue of this price here, and it did clear it. But this obstacle ended up meaning something, and we completely reversed today. And now we're, sitting on the low of the day. And to me, this even looks better than the Euro odd. It didn't go up as high. Wasn't as bullish. And so it's really a tug of war between, the choices here. But I can see really this Euro New Zealand, starting to come off from here. But again, there's a lot more noise here, and we'll have to take a look at that. But you can see what's happening, folks. And I was talking to Peter right at the beginning of the year that I thought that there was just so much confusion going on in the market, so many opposing patterns, that it would set up a premise for this kind of stuff where you just get the market thrusting from one level to the other and chopping and changing. And if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to get carved up real good. So the idea is really to stick to your discipline here. It just, this chart is all over the place. So we came up to the, basically where this thing broke out of this descending wedge triangle. We basically came there, and that ended up, that old support ended up to be what looks like new resistance. But you've got so much price to go through here, or so much, stuff on the left, that to me, upon reflection, I think euro odd actually looks like a better deal to go short. Let's keep drilling it down, and then we can have a further discussion, when we ended up looking at our short list. Here is Euro USD, been an extended trading range. We've talked about this last 3 days. We have another signal today, but it's just bouncing around and doesn't look as interesting. I can't make a case for this falling and cutting through all these prices as quickly. You've got the obstacle here to fall through. So if all the euro pairs, this one kind of looks like the least interesting to me right now. Pound odd. We talked about this looking like it was going to go down, but it's going down in a grinding fashion. You've got this key reversal here, this key reversal there. Now you've got this large inside day bar. I definitely can see it, getting into this white space here, but then you've got this kind of obstacle to the left here that it's kind of cut through. So I can definitely see a movement where we tear down here tomorrow, and then by the end of the day, it's up here again. So probably not the most high probability thing. And since this is sitting at the bottom of a channel, and the euro, trades are sitting at the top where they look like they're reversing and have more energy to go the other way, I prefer that. So, yes, I can definitely see this market falling away into this white space and going down over time, but there's just a lot of noise here and a lot of noise here, and I think I'm just going to eliminate that for now. Here again is all this noise that we're seeing in the Canadian, and this is looking really good now, folks. It's becoming much clearer than it was a couple of days ago. And you remember I avoided taking a trade, even though it looked like a good setup a couple days ago, because I thought it needed more work. That when you have all this kind of stuff here, and I know that's technical jargon to talk about this as stuff, but when you have all this price action, to just cut through that is going to take some work. You need to build away from that, and the more work you do, the more potent that signal will be, and kind of that's what we did. So we've kind of built away now. So recall that I saw this key reversal, I saw the inside day bar, but I really didn't want to take that as a short, even though I saw that you had all of this in place, and I was a little disappointed that day, because the market did cut through all that. But then it snapped back, and then guess what? It snapped way above where we would have been stopped out. And so, it still had a lot of noise and a lot of work to do, which I suspected it did. But now we've eliminated some of that, and now we've got this kind of triple top going on here with this huge reversal here, and now we've got a major reversal there. I mean, these ranges are what, 208 to 205. You're talking about 700 pips here, which is major. So now you've got this huge kind of M top sitting here too. And with the neckline sitting probably under here, and so this looks like you're now going to get some follow through to the downside. And now just the question is, with a 700 pip range, is how much heat are you going to have to take in order to sit in this trade to see it work? If we get in here or whatnot, or we put in the traditional sell stop, we're going to have to count on this thing just cutting through here, and you've got a lot of noise here, you got a lot of noise here. It's a dicey thing. Could it do that? Absolutely. But the question is, if it cuts here and then it cuts back in here, it's like, how much risk are we willing to take? I mean, it could cut all the way up here and still fail. So this is the difficulty. Another way to play this is actually on a limit order, where you wait for this thing to come up. The problem with limit orders is that you have to guess where the market's going to stop. So it comes up here and you say, okay, do I get short here? And then it comes up here and you say, do I get short here? With the idea that this is going to be the absolute level where you can't see it being violated. So the problem with this trade is that, I see a good opportunity, but now what's, the risk that we have to take in order to, to get in this trade. And so let's just kind of put GBP CAD on a watch list here, and then we can talk about it. Because what I want to do is I want to evaluate what's going on in the Canadian dollar, and maybe that'll give us some insight. So you have to look at some of these cross pairs in order to see what's going on, because what's been happening is that the Canadian dollar has been very weak, especially against the US dollar. And what I want to see if there's a reversal there, and if that thing looks like it could strengthen, which means that the pound could go relative to the, but so again, it's just a question of what kind of risk tolerance do we want to take here. But it looks like there's a lot of problems in this pair, and it looks like it could head south. But you have all this price action to cut through, and it's going to be a dicey proposition. And I think for that reason, for me, it kind of eliminates it. Even though we could see a huge move, we want to pick the high probability trades and be able to assess our risk. And I think for that reason, it probably eliminates this trade for now. Let me just take it off there. So this is the exercise I kind of go through in my mind every day, and hopefully giving you guys an insight will be helpful to you, going forward, even in selecting my trades when you see them. And again, you were able to see, the insight yesterday before the New Zealand, dollar came out, and you can see what can happen right before the close. And I think that's a value also, is, knowing, when to look at these things, and how the close is just so important to the complexion of these things, because it just changes everything. Where we were looking at the pound New Zealand dollar 5 minutes before the close yesterday was completely, 150 points of where it did close. So sometimes I try and ballpark it, and you get into the quiet portion of the day and you're pretty confident that you've seen the range, but then as we saw yesterday, you don't. New Zealand dollar, which we liked yesterday, now kind of is turned into an opposite picture, where we kind of had this double top. We have this clutter here, and we'll have to see how this plays out. I'm not going to take a trade either way in that. I think there's probably some better opportunities. But, you do have this double top resistance here. You have this big reversal bar. You've got to get through some of this, but this could turn, and we'll certainly keep our eye open for New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar. I think we talked about pound New Zealand dollar. I like that on our short list for a short trade tonight. And the more I look at this, I really like it in a way. Yeah, it's got to cut through this. But this could means we could have a big trade tonight in this currency pair. So pound yen, it's a downtrend, hasn't reversed. I'm just not going to look at that for now either. Pound US dollar, kind of an interesting thing here. Well, again, very important to see how we close. We could have this this kind of narrow day thing. We'll have to see how we close. If it closes up here, this could be a reversal. But again, we have such a straight wall down that even if I was inclined to buy it, I'd want to see a couple more days of build away from this thing in order for us to see some kind of movement to the upside. But for the most part, this is a downtrend, and looks to be continued so. So probably want to stay away from that, unless actually we could make a case this is a continuation on the downtrend. It's an inside day bar, and we could put a sell stop here, but this is kind of getting long in the tooth and could come back to bite us, and so the risk reward is probably not as great. I'll come back to the stock indexes in a minute. It's a huge day there. We looked at this New Zealand yen. Again, I was very frustrated that this fell out of bed. I'm looking for New Zealand dollar yen to go lower. We had this huge reversal thing that only took place after we hung up yesterday. So it was, very hard for me to get a handle on it. And then I also thought that we had to cut through all this price action to the left here and this bar here. And you can see that, this on the first attempt to go through this thing was not successful. So I was really pissed this morning that I missed, good trades at the downside. And by the close, it's pretty much unchanged. So markets are bouncing all over the place, and you have to be really sure of where you're getting into a trade and how to assess your risk in this environment. New Zealand dollar, US dollar, same kind of thing. I see this double top. I'm long-term bearish, but now we've got to, slice through all of this stuff. So when we come into this area, we got to cut through all of this kind of action to the left here, this action over here, even though it got past a little bit. You can see that this was, in your face grace by the end of the day. This is another reason why I don't like, see, the difference between looking at a key reversal at the bottom of a channel versus what we're looking at now at, the top of the channel is a little bit different. So I'm looking at this key reversal at the top of a channel where you've had all this market momentum here, and this is suggesting that, there's going to be a turnaround. The difference here, and we were looking at the New Zealand dollar, is that I don't like doing it at the, here's the key reversal, but it's at the bottom of the channel. There's no stored energy. The energy's already been pretty much expended and it's gone straight down. We're right in the midway through. This was a nice reversal. This was a nice reversal. But when you get to the bottom, when you're at or near all things, then, you've got to be careful. You can't just go into autopilot and say, okay, this is a reversal bar. Here's a reversal bar. But again, the difference of this reversal bar is that it's at the top of a channel. You've had all this energy here, and now this is indicating that that energy is kind of, can be, expended and go the other way. Is that clear to everybody? Is that, so where not to use reversal bars or where to be careful about them? They mean a lot, but, there was good follow through today. And again, I was pissed when I see, these kind of follow throughs out of these reversal bars, but there's reasons why I didn't take this yesterday. Because, I want to see some build up energy now for this thing to fall away and get through this clutter. If it's going to do that, I need to see it come back up here to 66, store some energy, and then, have another go, put some more space between these guys here. And there's a whole symmetry. There's a structure to markets. I can explain it to my eye just because I've been looking at them for so long. And, I hope I'm doing a decent job of explaining to you. I know it's probably not all going to be that clear, but the more we kind of talk about it, hopefully you'll start getting some of these concepts. But, I'm really trying to stay away from danger. I'm trying to find the best trades, that, position us for good trades. And also, I'm trying to assess my risk. So, all those three variables kind of go into, my decision-making matrix. And, it's obviously a lot more convoluted than I thought it was when I try and explain it to somebody. Where were we? New Zealand dollar. So nothing there, even though we've reversed, it's still a downtrend. And I don't want to take anything there. This is the trade I want to look at. So this is something that we want to focus on now. This is the long-term, U.S. dollar versus Canadian dollar, and as the eye can see, it's been straight up without almost interruption. And this was the first, bar we can see like this at the top of a major channel. And this was my first clue, where you had the, opening it for the week at the very high. And that always alerts me to something. And even though we extended beyond that, this kind of told me that there could be some trouble in this pair. But I needed to see something like this to give me the first insight. Now, again, you don't turn a U-boat, out in the ocean right off. It takes 18 miles. So we're not going to say that this is going to go straight down from here. But, I can say that this has put a kibosh on any, future upside movement, I think, for the immediate future. And, we're going to get some chop and churn and probably something back into this range, this will take a substantial build away for this. I don't expect this thing to just fall. This doesn't look like a Euro CAD where, we have, other elements of resistance. You've got no resistance anywhere to the left of this, where if we look at, GBP CAD, you've got all this resistance over here. You've got Euro CAD. You have, some resistance over here. And, US dollar, it's just, it's just as far as the eye can see, there's, been no resistance. It's just been straight up. I mean, the only resistance was way back here. So for this thing to turn around, I don't expect it to turn right into a bear market. But can we see a, kind of a huge fall off, out of here? possibly and probably, which will then drive the other Canadian pairs that we're looking at lower. So what this means is that the Canadian dollar is strengthening against the US dollar, strengthening and looking to strengthen against the euro. And since the euro is weaker than the US dollar, the euro CAD is likely to be a better candidate than, you know, US dollar candidate, you know, a CAD. And if we look at euro pound, euro is now looking to go weaker versus pound. So if we're going to, you know, have a choice between euro CAD and pound CAD, because the euro looks weaker relative to the pound, I'd probably want to bet on this one. I want to bet that the euro is going to be weaker than the pound and relative to the Canadian dollar. So that's, you know, telling us that's kind of the pair we want to, you know, focusing on. But however, said that, if we look at euro versus Australian, actually, you know what, euro versus Australian is also weaker, or, you know, has some resistance. So actually, just trying to figure out the best cross for the Canadian dollar. So if the euro is weaker than the Australian dollar, that's why the Australian dollar, Canadian dollar is, you know, stronger right now. So that's why we're seeing this. So that's not the to short against the Canadian dollar, and that's, you know, the euro is telling us that. So for right now, the euro CAD probably is the best candidate, you know, against the Canadian dollar. But again, it's a question of how much risk we want to take, and is this the right time to get in there? So we'll revisit that when we're finished up. Let me finish up, and then we can, you know, talk about everything. And again, I want to try and wrap it up in about 20 minutes so I can do my signals. 20-30 minutes. So, you know, here I like this, although we did see that the Swiss was not as strong. So let's get out of this. Sorry about that. So again, these kind of bars really suit my eye and really, you know, get me, you know, pumped for a good risk reward trade, which I'm seeing here. So this is a net uptrend, you know, as we can see. This is the net, you know, so the phase of the condition of this market is primarily an uptrend. We had this key reversal here, and then we've got kind of this wedge going on, this triangle, if you will. You know, it's amazing how symmetrical these, you know, markets are, and we may have, you know, to play out a little bit more white space here. And I'm a little bit ambivalent here, but I do like the appearance of this kind of reversal bar today. The only thing that I'm thinking of is, again, you know, you've got to cut through, you know, what these are, you know, now I guess coined these obstacle bars, if you will. So here and then here and here. So in order to do that, so again, this is part of my visualization process. And this is what I did with gold last night. I said, you know, can I see in my mind's eye, can I make a case for this, you know, to do something like this, where it just cuts through all this clutter and does something like this? And, have we played around enough in the white space of this triangle, or does it need? And again, we can complicate and whatever, but, you know, what I like is that we had this key reversal here. So even if we take a shot, it may not be the best shot in the world. The risk reward is going to be really low because the bar is small and the stop loss is going to be pretty tight. Because if we put a buy stop here and we put our stop loss somewhere below unchanged, I think it's probably worth taking a shot here. This thing looks like it's coiling, and I think that this white space is going to get filled one way or another. Does it have more work to do? Maybe. Could this come back in our face and cost us 35 pips tonight? Well, I think it's worth the risk versus the reward. So this looks pretty good to me. We have a coil, a congestion. You have this underpinning here, and I do think that you're going to fill this white space here one way or another. So how much work it's going to take to get through these guys and these guys, I don't know. But I think that it's, you know, worth a strong shot here. So I'm going to look at long USD CHF Swiss franc tonight. Does everyone see that? Does everyone agree with that? Anyone have an opinion? And again, next week, I'm going to probably ask you to suggest some trades, and maybe we can break apart that just to see, you know, if you guys are heeding some of this analysis and maybe even coming up with something interesting on your own that I can learn from. Let's just keep working through this. Okay, so dollar yen. Again, on the weekly thing, we're getting very close to a breakdown in this thing. I'm very aware of this 116 neckline. We did hit it. You can see how important it is. It hit it several times, and when it hit it today, it bounced off of it. But I don't expect that price to be contained for very long, and I do expect the yen to go stronger. And so I'm going to be looking to get short some of these other pairs, but I think the timing is just, perhaps not right now. But, if it happens, I get a little upset seeing something and then kind of not being on board. But, I'm just going to focus on the highest quality trades right now. And that's really what the exercise of this whole program is. Just take a quick look at the dollar. It's going from strength to strength, although, we are resisting. Here, this is a weekly. We haven't finished for the week, obviously. We got a little bit of resistance up here, but we'll have to keep an eye on that. Nothing alarming to one way or another. Oil, a little bit of a key reversal today. Made a new low, closed on the high. Not really focusing on oil right now, but we're seeing a little bit of a, kind of a stopping of the hemorrhaging there, and maybe that could mean something for our gold position, which is stabilizing at about the 1101 area. We've talked about it. I'm going to continue going long gold today. I still think it can get up into this white space. Yeah, we could take some heat, could still go back $5 before it goes up tonight, but I think I'm going to give it some room to keep working higher if that's what it wants to do. So that's it. Stock indexes are just fallen off the cliff again today. But then, you can see that they bounced up substantially. So again, this is the danger of these markets where you're just even seeing these enormous ranges closing in the middle, way off the high or low. And, we had a huge sell-off in the market. Obviously, it rallied now. I was, again, this is the same thing as the New Zealand dollar. I was talking about it yesterday. I saw this key reversal, but I was very hesitant to get short at the bottom of a channel with no energy right into a support area. And, it came off today and I'm going, oh, I missed another opportunity. And, that's the idea of sticking to the discipline. Now it's, higher than where we would have got in. And, we've found some support here. Could be, a major support area, by virtue of what this looks at. We've got this triple bottom almost. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, but no trade for tonight. But again, I'm trying to give you guys a way to, look for trouble, avoid trouble, optimize risk, and hone in on some, really good trades. So that's it for the discussion now. Kind of going back to, we're going to stay in this. I'm going to assess my stop loss. I'm probably going to put it, around 1190 or 1191, which is going to be below our entry, but I want to give it some room to, breathe. If you guys want to take some off the table here, you're free to do that. Pound, New Zealand dollar. I think I really like that. I like that. I see this white space being filled. I think there's a good risk reward. I think these two key reversals in the same area have taken out a lot of risk, so that if we put a pending order here and it gets triggered, I think even though we've got these kind of obstacle bars here, we may cut through some of this. And let me kind of look at this on an 8-hour. Sometimes when I'm a little bit tentative, I go to these 8 hours just to see what that looks like. And again, I don't want to confuse you or myself and overthink it. Again, you just have this obstacle bar here to get through. And so the question is, how do I visualize cutting through this thing, and is it worth it? And again, we're not closed. You can see this is starting to go a little higher now. So the whole dimension could change 45 minutes from now when I put in my order. So I'm going to still put this on, back order here. But if I go short, I think you guys can understand my reasoning here. Downtrend, two key reversals within that area. I don't see anything holding up, this chart on a meaningful basis. And I do think we start, going weaker here. So, and as we saw if we're trying to analyze this, pound is very weak right now. And New Zealand dollar, we had this huge reversal, so it's looking to go stronger. So even if the pound stays the same and the New Zealand goes higher, this thing will go lower. I don't know if that's kind of intuitive to everyone. So I try and break apart each component of that, the pound and the New Zealand dollar. You can see we found some great support in the New Zealand dollar. I don't know how much it will hold, but it looks like it's going to hold this market up for a day or two. Whereas the pound still looks very weak and still could go lower. So, that kind of still makes the case for me that, this is weaker than the New Zealand dollar. So anyhow, I'm going to see how this closes, and I'm very likely to go short pound versus New Zealand dollar. I also like this one just because I think the risk reward is so favorable. It is such a small range. And let's just look at that chart, that trade on a trade basis. So, again, we're going red here. This is two nice reversals in the same area in the pound New Zealand dollar. You have this reversal here. This thing looks horrible. I really like this for some reason. I think it's going to be a great trade for us. Where are we looking at? Dollar Swiss. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about the high being 1,00576, so call it 1.0058. It would be the high. We're presently trading at 1.0044. Let's say I risked 30 pips on something like this to 1.0014. You're talking about a 44 pip risk from high to the stop loss for something that could go several hundred pips from here. So I think the risk reward is more than there, and I'm very likely to take this trade. If you guys would like me to enter that trade with 0.5%, you guys want to see that, how I assess the risk. Is that interesting to you? Do you want me to put this trade in on the platform, or would you like to talk about something else? Any other feedback on any of the analysis that you've heard today? Is this worthwhile? You guys learning something? So I'm a little bit delayed here. Okay, so everyone's saying, Lauren says yes, Kaz says yes. Anything you guys want to see specifically? Trent, George. So any other charts you want to focusing on? Anything? Lauren says great stuff. Thanks, Lauren, for the support. HP, definitely. Thanks again for the support. Any charts? Okay, so George says NZT, New Zealand dollar, Japanese yen broke daily and historic lows, but today there is a pullback. Is it worth a trade if it closes below the opening? And again, we talked about this thing. I'm looking for NZD, Japanese yen to go lower. I'm looking for all these yen trades to go lower as the yen strengthens. I'm looking for just the best place to get in. And I thought I missed a great opportunity yesterday, but you can see, we had this great reversal and then it went lower and I thought, oh boy, I missed the train. But now we've had this huge reversal. So, I just have to see it do some work here. I don't think it's, you're going to see it above this high, certainly probably above this high. So the question is, where do we pick a spot? In this area, do we just get in arbitrarily? I typically don't like getting in arbitrarily. I just have to stare at the screen then. I have to guess where I'm going to assess my risk. You can see how I look at trades that then just set up with my eye, set up with the key reversal, set up with the pattern. I can assess my risk. I can put in my platform and I can leave it. Now I have peace of mind, and guess what? It all works out pretty good. Here's the recap for January thus far. I included the 49 pips we lost the other day in NZD CAD. We're looking at XAU, USD, spot gold is a little higher now, but all told, up 862 pips. Just in a market that's going nuts from reversing and chopping and changing, and 700 pip ranges from high to low, stopping people out all over the place. So with what I'm trying to achieve, I don't see a way to get into NZD. It's patience. We've had a huge drop off, and now I'm just waiting. See, the whole premise, guys, and this is a real, interesting concept, based on what we're seeing now, is that you need to wait for the market to come to you. You can't chase the market, especially in this kind of environment. You chase the market with these 400 pip ranges, without an ability to assess your risk, you're just going to get cut up like nobody's business. So that's George says he has to, keep having to refresh his page. Peter, are you on this line? I don't know if Peter's still with us. I don't know if there's still technical issues here. But I'm sorry if there is. And George says he has to keep refreshing his web page. I don't know if you guys are having the same problem. So HP says, if I've understood what you say as to why New Zealand dollar US dollar is not a buy is because there was no consolidation, and even it was a reversal bar. Okay, so when I look to buy or sell something, yes, I will arbitrarily do something at the top or bottom of a range like this. Like when you see something that looks like this, it's over to this extent, I will get short here just because I think there's resistance, and, this thing is turned around, and I think that you'll see some energy away from here. Whereas the New Zealand dollar, and again, the closer the reversal is to the primary thrust. So this has been straight down. And so the primary thrust is like straight down, and now you're reversing. What I like to see if I want to buy against something like this is that I want to see this thing, do some work sideways, build away, show me that it's consolidating, put on another bar, put on an inside day bar, put on something. So first off, I'm looking at this major pattern as dictating this market. So first off, as I always say, I look at the phase or the condition of the market. And what is the major pattern in play? And we're looking at the New Zealand dollar, US dollar here. So, what is really dictating what's going on here? And like I said yesterday, you kind of have to know why you're holding a position. Why are you in something? And so I'm looking at this double top as very, very bearish for this market. And any move upwards, I'm actually looking for a spot to get short this thing. I'm looking for something like this where it moves up, makes a new low, close on the high, something like over here, and we can get short. So I'm always kind of looking to go short this market. Could we have a short-term, movement away, a short-term strength where, we kind of get this, like we did in the Canadian dollar. By the end of the day, you're back down here, which would be great. Then that would give me another short thing. So, for me to look at buying this thing, first off, there's no pattern. This is a primary downtrend, short-term, long-term, any way you want to draw it. We have this double top here. So just because we have a reversal bar, I don't, as a knee jerk, go ahead and do that. I bought it here on this reversal because there was a bottom here, a rectangle bottom that I identified weeks earlier. I actually made 285 pips or more in this, by identifying that bottom. When it retraced to where that, bottom was, and it showed me this thing, I bought it. But now we have another formation that I'm looking at. It's kind of, eradicated all of this. And now we're looking at this huge double top. And that's what's really driving my calculus or calculations in this pair going forward. Unless you're going to really, reverse this thing, I'll take a new look up here. But for right now, I'm net bearish, New Zealand dollar, US dollar. I'm looking for it to, go down. But could it certainly spring out of here quickly? Like all these markets are just going all over the place like a kid with a crayon these days. Absolutely. But I don't want to buy it here. I mean, could you put a, you could use this analysis, guys, if you want to, put a, because of the size of this reversal, it means something. It does point when you make a size of, when the bar is this size and you close this thing, could you put a buy stop here and probably put a take limit, 25 or 50 pips higher? You probably could. Probably not a bad trade. Or, if this thing went lower, Could you buy into that? Maybe, but then you don't know where to put your stop loss. That's why I typically don't do limit orders. I like the market to confirm the action, and then typically when it breaks through here, it will, go for, a few pips very quickly. So you might put, 15, 20, 50 pips on the other side of this thing and take a quick trade. Obviously, that's not my objective, for, my traders and whatnot. But, yeah, I see some, and certainly if the pound New Zealand dollar is going to go down, it means the New Zealand dollar is probably going to go higher. So if I'm right about that pound New Zealand dollar, it means the New Zealand dollar is going to strengthen and the pound's probably going to stay the same or weaken. So for that to happen, the New Zealand dollar would have to go higher. But, I'm not going to buy the New Zealand dollar US dollar at this point. I'd rather short pound versus New Zealand dollar because it's a much more mature trend, in the direction of the primary trend. So the contrast is I'd rather go in the direction of the trend with some good insurance bars behind me like that. And again, if this starts trading up and it turns more blue, I might stay away from this altogether. I'll see, in about 20 minutes or so. But the likelihood is we're probably going to get a trade, short, this pair. So those are the two pairs, dollar Swiss and pound New Zealand, that I really like on the upside tonight. And we already have an open position long gold. So anything else you guys want to talk about it? Dex said Swiss yen. Dex, again, I expect all the yen pairs to keep going lower. And of all the pairs right now, Swiss yen looks still the weakest. So, I think you want to find a place to get short this thing. And it's frustrating. This thing, could go down without giving me a proper signal. So when I see something support go up and then bam, go down against it, that's not kind of what I look for, even though I'm looking for this pair to go lower. So I think this guy right here is telling you the whole story. I don't think you're going to see prices jump above this key reversal. So this is your obstacle bar right here. And it's putting a hold, so even if we dance around here and we whatever, I don't think you're going to see prices above this guy. And, long term, I'm looking for all the yen pairs to break lower. And this looks like one of the weaker ones. So it's probably going to keep going lower. Dollar Swiss says seems to be closing higher. Will it change your analysis? No, it'll only confirm my analysis. May have to adjust where I put my, so it's pretty much still at the high end of the bar today. This, innocent looking thing at the, within this rising wedge, if you will. I'm going to take a shot. Again, you've got some obstacles to get through here. It may not be a clean trade, but I think I'm going to, take a shot on dollar Swiss. So this is the 8 hour. I don't really see any, what I look for like bars against me here. So like here, was even though it's red, this was a key reversal in the direction. This is an 8 hour bar. So even though it's not daily, it's still of a longer term time frame to tell me, that, if there's an obstruction. And if I saw an 8 hour bar, downward here or downward there, that it would have to travel up against. But I don't see it. So again, this may not be the cleanest trade in the book, but I kind of want to start getting a feel for this thing because if I do think it's going to get up in here, and if it starts breaking away, I want a piece of it before it does that. And kind of that was the rationale with gold last night. Wasn't the cleanest trade for me, but my thinking was that if it's going to start exploring this white space, I kind of want to get a piece of it. And I may have to get stopped out of some of these trades along the way, but I still think they're pretty decent probabilities. So that's it for today. Any other questions before I have to write all of this up and send it to everybody else? And again, things might change before the close. I typically wait right until the close before I send everything, like I did last night. I was going to send out that New Zealand dollar CAD trade, and right after I hung up with you guys, the New Zealand dollar just cratered. Just changing, everything that we spoke about. And fortunately, that's also the value of the pending order. We might have just gone in with a lot of confidence, at the market. The New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar was closing at the top of the bar when we were speaking. And, the inclination is, okay, why pay more expensive when it looks good here? and 2 seconds later you would have been down 150 pips. I mean, in 2 seconds. So that's also requiring the market to confirm my analysis is, a big piece of the puzzle. HP says it's a great session. Thanks, Mark. You're welcome. Lauren says great job. Thanks, Lauren. Let's see. Zavar says, why are you taking the dollar Swiss with the obstacles when you? So sometimes these markets are going to travel through all these obstacles, right? We can't see them all, and sometimes I can overthink it. But again, the dollar Swiss may, have some headwinds, but I just, like the gold last night. It just has too many good things going on here to, not take it. So as you guys know, there's 3 layers or even probably 4 or 5 layers to what I do here. So let's take it step by step. The condition or the phase of the market is an uptrend. Then within the uptrend, I look for a pattern, and you could probably even draw it bigger than that. This pattern comes in, something like this on a much more macro basis. And we're pretty close to, the resolution within this pattern. We have a little bit of white space, but we're getting pretty close to the end of it. So we have an uptrend with a pattern with a couple of key reversals in the same neighborhood, one being here, which tells me that this market is pretty well underpinned and there's a lot of support. And here's the other one. So here's my insurance day bar. So we have the phase of the condition. We have a symmetrical triangle, if you will, and we have a key reversal. And now I'm going to require the market to also confirm what I'm saying. So if the market just goes lower from here, we're not going to get put in this, and that's the beauty of the 4th step and the layered approach here. But if we're triggered into this trade, I want to be a part of it. And if I'm going to lose 40 pips for the benefit of it, oh, so be it. Part of it, a lot of what I do is probing the market. A lot of what I'm going to do is making mistakes. And as you guys see, I can make 3, 4 bad trades, have one trade go for 300 pips, and we're still net to the good. And that's the whole premise here. You're never, if you're looking for perfection, you got to go elsewhere. And actually this month, I'm way above, I think, win-loss. I haven't looked at it, but typically I'm only about 55, 58%, winning to losing. And this month I've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 losers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So some of you guys who are better than math, what is that? 6 divided by 17. Win-loss is probably 65% this month, which is a little bit higher than I typically am. So there are going to be plenty of mistakes along the way, and we're going to get stopped out plenty. So Lauren, I'll give you the 7 steps. I'll somebody Lauren asks, are the 7 steps written somewhere? They actually were, I think, in the material we sent you to sign up. And 2 of those steps involve visualization. So do I do a positive and a negative? So one of the things I do is, okay, can I really draw a line against this bar and against this bar and see this line kind of moving through all this price action on the downside? And to me, the answer is no. I can see a line drawn where it fills more of this white space much easier than I can see a line drawn that has to go through all this clutter here. And that's part of the visualization process too. So I kind of gave you all the steps plus the visualization, and that's really it. Phase of the market, do I look, find it a pattern, look for a insurance day, do your visualization, and then put the buy or sell, order to confirm the whole thing. And hopefully, when we're triggered, we've got a good trade at the at the end of this kind of exhaustive process. Now, this whole thing takes me about 10 minutes. Because I can explain it in my head probably a lot easier than I can explain it to you. So it's not that difficult. I just go through a process of elimination, start putting a short list together, and and these are the trades that look good for me for tomorrow. So with that, we've got about a half an hour to go before I send this out. So I need to do some work, and if there's nothing else, I'm going to kind of wrap it up here. So I'm a little bit behind you guys. If there's a question or anything you want to say, I'll wait 30 seconds. Otherwise, I'll say goodbye to you now, and we'll reconvene tomorrow. So I'm not hearing back from you guys. So George says thanks. Liz says excellent. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Liz. Sergey, you're welcome. Lauren, you're welcome. Thanks everyone for attending. We will, see you tomorrow, and hopefully we'll have some good trades and something to talk about tomorrow. All right, take care. Bye-bye.